Hello, my name is Carlos Vivas. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a near death experiencer. I'm the author of the book Help from Heaven Miracles Happen When You Believe. My story started when I was 14 years old and I started feeling bad. I started feeling dizzy. I was at school. I didn't want to say anything to my mom because my mom was really harsh with me and my sister. Weeks later, I went to the bus stop and I have a blackout. And when I stand up from the blackout, I say to myself, tonight I have to speak with my mom because something is going on. So that night, I said, Mom, we need to talk. Something is going on with me and I want to go to school, but we need to go to a doctor. Something is going on. So she said, okay, what happened? So I said, well, I feel very dizzy. I feel really bad. So can we go to a doctor? Sure. Let me call your dad and we start going to doctors. Make this story short, we went to 10 doctors. They said we supposed to be going to a specialist on blood. That's what they thought. And we went to a specialist on hematology. So he was an hematologist. When we went to his office, he took a series of tests on me. And at the end of the test, he concluded that I have leukemia. And he called us into his office. And he said, let me speak with your mom and your dad. So I was standing in the back, my mom, my dad sitting in front of me. Then it was the desk and the doctor. And then the doctor said, I'm sorry, I have bad news for you, Carlos. You have 3 months. And I was like, 3 months? 3 months for what? I said, you have 3 months to live. I said, like, what? What are you talking about? I said, I'm sorry, but you have a terminal illness. It's called leukemia. And there is nothing else to do. I'm the best doctor on this. That's what the other doctor sent it to me. In that moment, when he said, you're going to die in 3 months, I was like, no, this is not going to happen. And in that moment, I heard a voice inside of me that said, he don't have the last word. I had. This was the first time in my life that I heard this. So I was like, whoa, what was that? I didn't want to say anything to my mom because I didn't want her to react on me that I was making fun of the situation. So I became quiet at that moment. And then my mom started arguing with the doctor. Doctor, you need to save my son. Please, you need to do everything in the world to save my son because you have sons and daughter and you will do anything to save your son. The doctor said to my mom, okay, lady, calm down. I have two options. Number one, the first option is going to Houston, Texas to do a bone marrow transplant. If we do that, maybe your son can be saved. And my mom said, and that's 100% reliable. Like, are you sure that he's gonna survive if we do that? And the doctor said, well, it's gonna be like 50-50. And my mom said, how much is gonna cost? And the doctor said, well, maybe you're gonna have to sell your house, your cars, and everything you have in order to pay for this surgery. And my mom said, I don't like that option. What is the option number two? The option number two is going to Paris, France. I'm working with a formula with another doctors. If we bring that formula, that can work in your son, but your son is going to be like one of the first people that's going to try this new medicine, right? And my mom said, okay, how much is it? It was a lot cheaper than the other one. I said, okay, at least we're doing something. I want the second option. My mom used to work for the Air Force. And my mom speak with her boss. Her boss sent a colleague to France. They bring the formula. I start taking the formula. And the first month that I'm taking the formula, after the first month, the doctor called me back to his office and he wanted to run some tests to see if it was working. When he ran the test on my blood, he realized that nothing is working at this point. So he told my mom, sorry, it's not working, but we need to finish the treatment. When he sent me back home, and in my mind, the only thing that I was sounding was like, okay, the treatment is not working. You need option B and C, plan A, plan B. So what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And then boom, I have a family member that's super rich. He have a lot of companies. And I said, you know what? What about if I get the money from this family member and he can help me and give me the money to go to Houston and have the surgery of the bone marrow, and voila, I'm gonna be cured. And then I said, let me call my mom and ask her first. So I called my mom. Mom, I have an idea. What about if we call this family member and ask for the money because you have a lot of money? And my mom said, no, you're not gonna call this family member because you don't know him. And I was like, but mom, no. Okay. So I hang up the phone and I say, okay, they have to be something else, something else. And I was trying to see what options I have. And then I remember, wait a minute, I'm studying a Catholic school. They said there is a God that if you pray from your heart, God can hear you and heal you. So in that moment, I did a bargain with God. And that moment I said, God, if you're out there, if you're here and you listen to me, what about if we make a deal? If you save me, I can tell the whole world that you're real because I'm going to be the living proof that you saved me. And in that moment, when I said these words, I start feeling heat all over my body. As soon as I start feeling this heat, I said, okay, this is it. This is what is going to work for me. So in that moment, I start praying. And from that day, I was praying every day, in the morning, in the afternoon, at night. And I was saying, thank you for my healing, God. Thank you for my healing. And something that was coming to my mind was images of hands touching my body everywhere, sending love and sending love to my cells. I don't know where this information came from. I just have images coming to me. And that's what I did. I was hugging myself and saying, I love you. Everything's going to be fine. Every cell of my body is getting healed. And I was doing this for like the next 2 months. And after 2 months, the doctor called my mom and said, okay, it's time for Carlos to come back to the office. The 2 months of treatment ends, so I need to run some tests. So we go back to the hospital and he put me on a CT scan. The CT scan is the tunnel that take all the x-rays. So I go there, and after I come out of the CT scan and the doctor run the results, he come back to my mom and he said like, I don't know what's going on, but he don't have anything. The cancer is gone. And my mom in that moment is like, oh my God, this is a miracle. This is a miracle, God. My son is safe. And the doctor said, no, lady, miracle doesn't exist. This is called remission. And most of the time is because we put a lot of chemicals on his body and then we raise that cancer, but then it come back worse. And in that moment, I heard this voice again on me that said, it's not going to happen again. And from that moment till today, I give thanks to God that I've been completely in remission and I've been safe from that day. So after I was healed, I come back to my regular life again, right? I went to school, but I was really afraid to tell anybody that this happened to me because I thought that people is going to say that I'm crazy. And in the 80s, there was a lot of bullying at school. So I didn't want anybody to run over me and start bullying me, And not even my neighbors next door or anybody. The only people that knew about my story was my mom, my dad, and my family, my closer family. But I never say anything to nobody, because this experience was something supernatural, I guess. And but I didn't want to open up with people and people start taking this like it was craziness. So remember that I make a deal with God. And in this deal, I said, God, if you save me, I'm going to tell the whole world that you're real because you saved me. I'm going to be the living proof. But guess what? I was 14 years old. I was scared to speak with anyone. And I keep it to myself. And I never say anything. Fast forward, years later, I have another event where God talked to me. In May 2015, I have a call in my house of a friend that he was asking me, hey, Carlos, what are you doing for Memorial Day? And I said, nothing. Why? I said, my family's coming out of town. Do you want to come with us? I said, sure, let's go. So we went to Panama City Beach in Florida that Memorial Day. And when we arrived to the beach, it was packed with people. All the parking lots, everywhere we go, it was packed. So we went to 3 or 4 different parking lots, huge, and it was full. And on the last parking lot, my friend said, well, I guess we're going to have to go back to the hotel. I said, like, no, 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 no. You know what? I have an idea. There is a place that maybe it's not going to be this full. Is an island that you need to take a boat to go there. So we go to the marina that I always go to get the boat to go to the island. And when we get there, it was closed for renovation. Then we go to a second marina, it was closed. Third marina was closed. I was like, what? And then I said to my friends, you know what? Let me look on my phone. So I look on my phone. I have two phones. I have my work phone and my personal phone. So I go to my work phone and I say, hey Siri, take me to a marina that is open right now. And Siri said, you don't have permission to navigate on internet. I was like, what? So I get my personal phone that was Google. I say, hey Google, take me to a marina that is open right now. And Google said the same message. You don't have permission to navigate on internet right now. What happened in that moment, that were two red flags, and I didn't saw that. So I tell one of my friends, hey, look in your phone because my phones are crazy. So one of my friends said, like, you know what? There is a park called San Andreas State Park. Let's go there. Okay, let's go. I've never been there. We drove there, and when we get to the park, there was a big lane, and we get to the lane, we go to the parking lot. There is a house where they sell the tickets. We bought the tickets. When we are boarding the bus to go to the marina, one of my friends said, Carlos, let me go to the bathroom because I don't think they have bathrooms in the island. I said, yes, let's go right here. So when my friends go to the bathroom, he stayed there for like 15 minutes and everybody gets like heated. And I said to his father, could you go to the bathroom and see what's going on? His father goes to the bathroom and he realized somebody put a lock on the door. So his son, my friend, was like yelling, please get me out of here. So we found the janitor and he opened the lock and then he let him out. That was another red flag right there. To do not go to the island, but I didn't pay attention to that. Anyways, we go to the shuttle bus. The shuttle bus takes us to the marina, and the marina we take the boat. We're 25 minutes into the ocean, and finally we arrived to the island. It was a sunny day. It was blue waters, crystal clear waters. The weather was beautiful. We get out of the boat. When we arrived to the base side of the island, it was packed with people too. So my friend's like, Carlos, look, it's the same. I said, yeah, guys, but I didn't know all these people is going to come here. Let's do something. Let's go to the back of the island. Maybe there is nobody there. Okay, let's start walking. So I'm walking first, and we're going around the island. When I'm walking around the island, there is a guy with 5 kids and says, excuse me, where do you think you're going? And I said, well, I'm going to the other side of the island because this part is full. I said, yeah, but it's very dangerous. I said, okay, sir, it's okay. Nothing's going to happen. So I continue walking with my friends. Say, okay, be careful. When we get to the back of the island, there was nobody there. So I get a spot and I say, okay, let's put a tent right here. So I open my tent and guess what? The wind started blowing really hard and my tent opened like a parachute. And for 45 minutes, me and my friends trying to put the tent down. After 45 minutes, one of my friends grabbed some rocks that he found along the way and he put it in every corner. And finally, the tent stands still right there. So we still there from 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. We put chairs, food, drinks, and we have an amazing day there. Around 4 p.m., my friend said, Carlos, do you want to come with us? We want to walk around the island. I said, no, guys, you go yourself to that trip. I'm going to stay here taking care of everything. So they left. I was by myself. And then it started getting hot. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to jump into the water. I'm not afraid to swim because when I was a kid, I used to be on a swimming team. So I jump into the water. And as soon as I getting inside of the water, I start feeling holes on the sand, like really deep holes. And I never experienced that on the beach. So I said, this is weird, but I don't know what it is. Anyways, the holes was indication that riptides were close by, but I didn't know what a riptide was. So I still getting deep and deep and deep, and I still feeling that something start pulling me and pulling me and pulling me. And then I feel something that pull me down and throw me far, far away. The way that I can explain this, if you saw the movie Finding Nemo, you see there is a current, it's called Australian current, under the water, like a whirlpool, and grab you and throw you far, far away. So that's what happened to me. That whirlpool took me from the bayside and throw me all the way into the ocean. So when I get out of the water, the island was like small from far away that I was watching. I was like, what? How did I get here? I didn't know what was happening. And I said, okay, I'm not going to be nervous. I'm just going to swim back. So I started swimming back again to the shore. But guess what? Every time that I was pulling my head out of the water, I was farther and farther. I was like, what? No, this cannot be real. So I tried to swim even super like fast and getting my head out of the water. I was in the same point. Why? Because I was in the center of the riptide. After 30 minutes that I was fighting and fighting and fighting, I started getting cramps on my hand or my arms, on my legs. And in that point, I'm very exhausted. And I said, you know what? This is it. I don't gonna have more energy to get out of here. All my friends are gone. There is nobody on this side of the island. I'm far away. The island is about to close in 1 hour. So this is the perfect setup for me to die. So in this moment, I said, you know what, God? Before I die, let me tell you this. I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to my mom. Thank you for my mom, my dad, my brothers, my sisters. Thank you for everything you gave me. And I'm sorry if I did something wrong. And in that moment, when I said this, I heard behind me a voice that said, ask for help. And I look everywhere. I was like, what? This is my imagination, God. And then I heard again, ask for help. And I get mad. I said, like, really? Ask for help? Could you please help me? Don't you see that I'm drowning here? Could you please help me? Nothing. Just the air and the water. And then I heard for the third time, I told you to ask for help. And I was like, oh my God, okay. I didn't want to ask for help because I was super exhausted. And I thought in my mind, not even in a million years, that I'm going to get out of there. But okay, this voice is behind me, insisting me. And I was like, okay. So I started saying, help. At the end of the island, one of my friends came out of the group because he felt something was wrong. He went to the tent, he didn't saw me there. He went to the beach, he didn't saw me around. He went to the top of a hill, and from the hill he saw me. He said, like, Carlos, I'm gonna call 911. Hold on. Guess what? He didn't call 911. He went back to the tent, he grabbed some tubings, and he went to the hill and threw the tubings. Guess what? The wind was against him, so the tubing slapped him in his face. So it wasn't working. I said, okay, hold on. This is not working. Let me call people from the other side. Hold on, Carlos, hold on. So he ran out of there. He go to the other side of the island that wasn't too far and call people. People is coming to the hill. And from the top of the hill, 6 guys jump into the ocean and everybody's coming my way. And I was like, thank you, God. Thank you. They're going to save me. Oh my God, this is amazing. And guess what? After 10 minutes, nothing happened. They cannot get to me. And then I hear a thunder in the background. So when I look back, I see the sky is turning black. There is lightning in the background. And everybody started turning around. I was like, no. And in this point, I said, you know what? This is it. God, I don't want to fight anymore. I'm just going to surrender. I just want to make a pause here because how many times in your life you're fighting in your marriage, with your kids, with cancer, or with another sickness, and the only thing that you have to do is surrender because you cannot fight along with this, okay? And that's what I did. In that moment, I surrendered. And when I surrendered, I said, God, just do it. And if you want to do it, quit, do whatever you want. I don't want to fight anymore. And in that moment, a huge wave came and crushed me all the way into the ocean. And when I was going into the water, I opened my eyes and I see far away a black shadow that's coming my way. And I said, oh my God, a shark. So that's what I thought in that moment. I covered my face and I just waiting for the bite. But guess what? When I'm like this thing grabbed me by my stomach and pushed me all the way out of the water. And when I go up and out of the water, the thing came out of the water. It was a huge dolphin, a huge gray dolphin. I grabbed the dolphin by the tail. I started crying. I couldn't believe this is happening. In that moment, I looked the dolphin in his eyes. And I don't know if it happened to you guys, but when you are with your dog and with your cat and you see your pet in your eye, you can almost read their mind, you know? And in that moment, what I read from this dolphin is like, calm down, everything's gonna be fine, I'm here. He didn't move, he didn't took me to anywhere. He was just right there standing for me. So I grabbed him and I was crying with him. I never touched a dolphin in my life. I never been this close to a dolphin, but I didn't have any option. I have to hang up on him because I was completely exhausted. Guess what? 10 minutes later, a fisher boat showed up in front of me. So the guy said from the fisher boat said like, son, I can save you, but I cannot get close to you. So I'm going to throw you a rope. Why? Because the thunderstorm that is behind me is creating a big wave. So if you get close to me, I'm going to hit you with my boat. So grab the rope. So he threw me a rope. I go to the boat through the rope. When I get to the boat, I trying to get some air because I was tired. The dolphin is still next to me. And then I like, and as soon as I do that, the guy starts screaming and he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You need to get in right now. I said, like, sir, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Please let me breathe. And they're like, no, we don't have time for that. Go to the back of the boat. I have some steps in the water and you can jump in. So I go to the back of the boat and I see the steps and I jump in. When I jump into the boat, the water was like this. So the boat was sinking inside of the boat. It's like, oh my God. And in that moment, I said, yes, my body's sinking because I have a pump and the pump is stopped. So come on, sit down next to me. I said, like, sir, do you have any bucket? I take the water out. I said, like, we don't have time for that. Sit down next to me. I sit down next to him. He started driving the boat around the island. And then he started asking me, are you okay? What happened? I said, like, sir, I don't know. I was swimming in the water and this thing grabbed me and brought me all the way here. So like, that's a riptide current. So like, wow, I didn't know that. And then he asked me, where's your family and friends? Everybody's there. Are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. Let me ask you a question. Where are you from? I said, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. What about you, sir? I said, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia too. What part? I said, I'm from Duluth. What about you, sir? I'm from Norcross. Duluth and Norcross is next to each other. I said, like, wow, we're neighbors. And he said, yes. And in that moment, he said, like, oh my God, look behind you. When I look behind me, because he's facing me and he's looking behind me, the dolphin was jumping behind the boat and the dolphin was following us all around the island. So when we get to the bay side of the island, the guy says, son, I have to leave you right here because I need to fix my boat. Okay, sir, I give it a hug. Thank you so much. Thank you for saving my life. And in that moment, I jump off the boat. He leave. I start walking to the shore. There was nobody there because everybody was on the other side. And when I'm walking to the shore, something hit my leg. And when something hit my leg, I look back and guess what? It was the dolphin right there following me. In that moment, it was like overwhelming for me. I was like, what? This dolphin is following me? Like, what's going on? But I'm just crying in tears, like I cannot understand this. So when I get to the shore, I go on my knees and I say, you know what, God, this is it for me. If you save me with this dolphin right here, it's because you have a purpose for my life. I don't know what you want from me, but I'm going to tell you something. From this moment, this is not my life anymore. This is your life. From this moment, I want you to take over my life and do whatever you want to me. Carlos, today die into the ocean. The person who's coming out of the water is going to be you. I want you to take it over and do everything through me. And in that moment, everybody started coming from the other side of the island, my friends, the police and everything. My friends come to me, everybody's hugging me, crying. And as soon as they get to me, everybody feel guilty because they left me alone. Later that day, my friend Enrique, the guy who was calling everybody to save me, he spoke to me and he said, Carlos, let me tell you something. When you was drowning, I saw a family of dolphins swimming by behind you. And one of the dolphins from that pod of dolphins came out of the family, and that was the dolphin that saved you. And the other pod of dolphins continue swimming around the island. But that dolphin just came for you in that moment. And my friends asked me, what do you want to do now? I said, I want to go to a church because I want to say thanks to God for saving me. So everybody that was there from the beach and that was around us, people follow us to a church close to San Andrew State Park. We found a church. I call Fatima because they have the image of Lady of Fatima. When we entered into the parking lot, there was a church. We tried to get inside of the church, but it was closed. So outside was a chapel, like a cave, full of candles and Virgin Fatima inside. So we did a circle. Everybody that came from the beach, from my friend, we hug each other and we pray for like 20 minutes. After we pray, my friend said, Carlos, what do you want to do now? I said, like, look, I want to go back to the hotel, get something to eat, and go to sleep. Went back to the hotel. I get something to eat. I took a shower. And as soon as I put my head on the pillow, I have an epiphany. An epiphany is like a vision. And I never had something like this in my life, though I thought was a dream. So in this epiphany, I was on the third floor of a cruise in the Caribbean. And I was holding the handrail. It was a wooden handrail. In front of me was the ocean. Blue skies, clear blue skies, and clear ocean, blue. Beautiful. It was a sunny day. And when I was looking in a wheel, like, wow, this is so beautiful. At the end of the ocean, I see a huge wave that started racing from the bottom of the ocean, and it was a tsunami. So the tsunami was coming my way. In that moment, I said, oh my God, I'm going to die. So I covered my face, and I was waiting for the impact. So what happened? I was waiting and waiting and waiting. 5, 10, 15 minutes passed, nothing happened. And then somebody touched me in my back and said, hey, look at me. I said, like, no, 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 we're about to die. Look, look, a tsunami's coming. I said, look at me. I said, like, no, we're about to die. I said, you're never going to die with me. I said, like, who are you? So I slowly looked back. And when I look back, I see this guy. He was taller than me, like 6'5", with a white robe. But from his face, it was coming like light from his face. In this moment, I feel bad because I said, like, why I can't see his face? And this guy was very calm. He said to me, now close your eyes, please. So I closed my eyes and he hugged me from behind. As soon as he hugged me from behind, 10 seconds passed and he said, okay, open your eyes. So I opened my eyes. I said, look in front of you. So I look in front of me, and what I look, I'm in heaven. It's like an infinitive golf course of like fresh cut grass, and it was clouds everywhere. And I realized, like, oh my God, I'm dead. And it's like, no, 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 Carlos, calm down. You're not dead. You're in the middle right now. Welcome, welcome to heaven. From this moment, you're part of me and part of all of them. And when he said all of them, I look back again, and there are millions of people in front of me dressing white robes, and everybody was glowing. And he said, welcome. From today, you're part of me and part of them. From today, you start walking with me and walking with them. Do you have any questions? And I said, yes, I have a question. Where all these people come from? And he said, they're coming from all over the world. I said, okay. Do you have another question? He said, yes. What is the true religion? There are 50,000 religions around the world. I just want to know what is real. What is the true religion? And he said, the only thing that I can tell you is when you come to heaven, you're going to find a religion. When you come to heaven, the only thing that you're going to find here is love. Love is the most powerful force in the universe, and love is what's going to unite the whole humanity in one. Okay? I said, yes. And in that moment, he said, okay, he put his arm over me and said, okay, let me give you a live review. And when he gave me a live review, he grabbed his other hand, opened his arm, and I see like a Macintosh computer, like a lot of screens on the air, and my life started flashing in front of me since I was a baby until right now. And the most important of this live review was that I was seeing every action that I was doing in my life, every action, every time that I was treating good or bad to one person, God put me, Jesus put me on the other side to feel what the other person was feeling, you know? And to understand that every time that we say something to somebody, our words have power and that affect people. So every time that I was treating bad I don't know, if I was fighting with my sister or with my dad or whatever, he put me in the other side and I could feel the pain in the other person. That was a lesson for me to be kind with everybody else after this experience. And after all this happened, he said, okay, now it's your time to go back and tell everybody back on earth what you saw here. After my experience in Panama City Beach, on Monday, I come back to work. I've been working in my office for 20 years, and as soon as I enter, there are 3 managers there. I say, hey guys, guess what's happened this weekend? I was swimming in Panama City on an island called Shell Island, and guess what? A whirlpool of water, a riptide, grabbed me and threw me far away into the ocean, and guess what? A dolphin saved me. And everybody like, yeah, right. So I started laughing. But guess what? Behind me, I heard a voice say like, I believe you. And when I look back, it was my boss and said, why do you believe me and they don't believe me? And my boss said, because I'm a Christian. They're atheists. Now I want you to go to your desk and Google in your computer how many people has been saved by dolphins around, during history. And then I Googled that, and there is a bunch of people that have been saved by dolphins. And my boss said, now Google how many people die in the United States every year by riptide currents. Riptides are like silent killers because they grab the people and they disappear. So when I Googled that, 114 people closely every year die in the United States by riptides. Then my boss said, now Google how many dolphins get killed every year. Dolphins say people all the time, but look, check how many dolphins get killed every year around the world. So when I Googled that, it said 100,000 dolphins get killed every year. And my boss said, okay, the last one that I want you to Google is, what is the meaning of the dolphin for Christians? And when I Googled that, the answer was the dolphin represent Jesus. To me, that was shocking. I was like, what? But yeah, it was like a connection there, Jesus, the dolphin, and my epiphany. So that happened on Monday. On Wednesday, my boss sent me to a customer. I'm a quality assurance manager and I have to check the quality of my employees. So my boss sent me to a customer that my guys, when they were to do the job in this customer house, they broke a lamp. So I get to this customer house. It's a lady. She's like 70 years old. She's cooking on her kitchen some pasta. And she said, Carlos, I'm busy right here. Could you do me a favor? Could you go to the basement, go to the last room, and walk to the hallway? When you get to the end, turn the light and you will see the gold lamp there. It's broken. If you can fix it or buy me a new one, that's fine. So I go by myself to the basement, start turning the lights. When I get to the end of the basement, that I turn the light, I see the gold lamp on the corner. But next to the lamp, there is a huge painting on the wall. And guess what it is? It's the same image of what happened to me in heaven with Jesus. It was heaven. There was millions of people in the background. There was the green grass. Then Jesus was like in the water, touching the water, standing on the water. And around Jesus were dolphins around him. As soon as I see this scene, it was very overwhelming for me. And I started crying because I couldn't believe. And in that moment, I understood, oh my God, this wasn't a dream. This is real. This is right here. So I started crying. The customer come downstairs like, Carlos, what's going on? Are you okay? I said, yes, man, I need to ask you a question. Where did you get this painting? And she said, well, 3 years ago, a friend of my family brought this huge canvas and started doing this painting for my family. And when he finished, we hang it right there. And we don't have any other space in the house. That's how we get this painting. So she turned the lights for me to observe the whole painting. That happened on Wednesday. On Thursday, I called my friend that he lived an hour away from my house, one of my best friends. Tell this story. I said, Carlos, you need to go to church. You need to let people know about what happened to you. I said, like, are you kidding me? You know how many haters are out there that they're gonna laugh about my story? Like, no. I don't have time for this. I have enough with my life. I work Monday through Friday really hard, and I don't want to be part of this, And then he started telling me, like, Carlos, please, I'm begging you, go to church and tell this testimony. People need to know this. And I said, okay. On Sunday, I go to your house. So Sunday I arrive. I drove 1 hour to his house. When I get to his house, his wife makes some breakfast. We get breakfast. And then he said, okay, what church you want to go? He asked me. And I said, like, it doesn't matter because Jesus told me it's about love. It's not about anything else. I said, okay, so any church will be fine. So we get out of his house and we start driving. And then we see the first church is called St. Michael the Archangel. The first church that we see, it was a Catholic church. So we go to the parking lot. The parking lot was full. There was music, balloons, and I asked a lady next to my car, excuse me, man, what's going on here today? And she said, like, well, this was a little church, but today's the inauguration of the big cathedral. You guys came on the celebration of the big cathedral, the inauguration. I was like, oh, okay. So my friend said, Carlos, talk with the priest and tell them about the testimony. So I go, I speak with the priest, and priest say, at the end of the service, you can tell your testimony. When I get to the end of the the service, the priest called me, Carlos, you can go to the stage, give me a microphone. I was nervous. This is the first time that I'm doing this. So I started telling my story. When I'm in the middle of the story, a 17 years old, white, skinny girl with a black long hair raised her hand, says, excuse me, sir, excuse me. I want to ask you a question. I said, sure. I want to ask you where Jesus was. He was behind me. Why he was dressing? He was dressing a white robe. Why? And what he was doing, he was hugging me from behind. Why? And then she said, well, you have to see this. So she grabbed the hair, put the hair in front of her, and turned around. As soon as she turned around, she showed me on the back of the t-shirt, she have a painting of Jesus hugging a guy. And she said, it was like this? I said, yes, it was exactly like that. And then people at church start murmuring, oh my God, you guys planned this, you guys did this on purpose. Like, number one, I don't live in this area. Number two, I don't know that girl. Number three, I never see that painting before. Anyways, the church service end, I go back home and I get in my computer and I start typing because I want to see the painting again. Jesus hugging a guy. And I found out it come a web page that said, this painting was done in 1992 by a painter called Thomas Blackshare. And he started doing fasting for 2 weeks. And when he was doing fasting, to be a clear channel to paint the image of Jesus as clear as it could be. So when he started doing the painting, he said the Holy Spirit showed up and said, Thomas, now you have to write a book and show the world everything on the painting. So on the painting, you can see the holiness of Jesus. You can see the dark in the background of Jesus. That's the darkness that we all human have. Then when Jesus was hugging the guy, that's the love that Jesus have with us. And he explained everything on the book, forgiveness. And that's how my story ends. When I was in heaven, before Jesus pushed me down and said to come back and tell you this, he said, Carlos, you need to go back and give this message to the world. And I said, what message? I said, well, in order for people to continue living on earth, they need to forgive. And I said, forgive who? I said, well, they need to forgive their parents. Why their parents? Because it doesn't matter if they abandoned you, if they didn't like you, if they abused you, if they did whatever they did to you, they did the best they could to give you the best you have. Number two, you need to forgive your inner child. Why? Because whatever happened when you was a child, you was afraid, you was scared. You didn't know what to do or who to call. So you need to forgive that kid. And number three, you need to forgive all the people that have come to your life and harm you. When you forgive your parents, your inner child, and the people that came to your life to harm you, you're not forgiving them, you're forgiving yourself. In that moment, you open your heart and you throw away all the hate, all the resentment, and all the poison that's been eating you for years. The same poison that caused cancer and another sicknesses. So in that moment, when you open your heart, it's like you have a balloon with a string and you cut the string and let the balloon go. You're free. And when you're free, is when Jesus told me that's the moment that you start living your purpose. And what is your purpose? I give a gift to every human on earth. And what is that gift? Everybody knows your gift. Simple. It's the only thing that you do better than anybody else. Some people know how to cook amazing. Some people know how to play the guitar or the piano amazing. Some people, they are very good athletes. So you know what you do better. That's your purpose. If you don't like your purpose, the second purpose is called service. Why service? Because when you die, you're not going to take anything with you. When you die, the only thing you're going to take with you is how many people you help, how many people you give shelter, food, how many lives you change. What was the blueprint that you left on earth for others to follow? Look, Mother Teresa of Calcutta, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Princess Diana, Martin Luther King, what they did was service, and their service continued until today. Now I ask you, people that is watching this program, what are you doing right now to change your life and change the life around you and leave a blueprint of love around you? Because one day when your time comes and you go to heaven, they're going to ask you, it was worth it for you to go to earth? And you should feel proud and say, yes, let me show you how many people I help. Let me show you what was the light that I left on earth for others to follow. And that's how my story ends. Thank you.